Welcome to 22 Sounds in Mandeville, Louisiana. Come on right in. Yeah, in this video we want to show you what our store looks like. We're 22 Sound, like I said, in Mandeville, Louisiana, right outside of New Orleans. So if you happen to live in the New Orleans area or happen to visit, come by here. As you can see, it's a pretty small store. It's a family owned and operated independent store, so this is really just us basically fulfilling a dream we had pretty much our whole lives. And yeah, we just started that from nothing, and this is where we're at right now. So we just wanted to show you all what makes the store what it is. So yeah, let's start right here. This is where usually our regulars go straight away. Of course, every record store needs to have a new arrival bin. This is where we put the stuff that just came in recently. And on our wall here, our new arrival wall, this is where we kind of highlight some of the stuff that's actually newly released, or maybe some classics newly reissued. But that's one thing that's really important to us. We want to stay up to date. Of course, every record store should be, I think, a mix of new and old stuff. That's how record stores always been. But it's really important to us that we're not just some nostalgia thing. Hey, some people walk in here and they get reminded of their youth and all that, and I think that's great. But this is really something that's still happening for us. New stuff, so that's really important for us to stay up to date with the music of today as well. This is our little indie exclusive kiosk. So these are all records that we're highlighting that you can only get at independent record stores. So indie exclusive versions that come out throughout the year, but also like, you know, record store day stuff, Black Friday stuff. I think that's really, I mean, we could probably talk for hours about the pros and cons of record store day and those different versions of records. But overall, I think it's a nice thing that we get some support for, and you know, give people a reason to come here and not to Walmart or Target or so on. But I think also actually our selection is much better, but we'll get to that later. This is our little lounge, as we call it, including a listening station. That's one thing we really wanted to have. We all remember going to record stores back in the day when you couldn't just stream everything, and you know, you actually had to go there and listen to a record first while you were in the store and you were discovering new stuff. So this is really something we wanted to have here, and I always love when I see people actually taking a record and listening to it here at the station. Plus, one thing that was really important to us when we conceptualized the store and we were thinking about how should we set this up, we wanted to be really inviting. We want it to be bright, welcoming, and so this is just something, you know, that kind of adds to that factor. Plus, hey, if you happen to come in here with your significant other or a friend or so that's not that much into records, just say, hey, they can hang out here while you can spend a few hours browsing. This is a wall with, you know, basically like some stuff that's a little more rare that you might not find everywhere, that might be a little bit more valuable, or some, you know, just kind of personal favorites that we like to highlight. It's always fun to have some stuff that, you know, kind of sets us apart. Over here we have our wall of heroes. That's mainly kind of like a tribute to a lot of our childhood heroes, musicians that we grew up with, that, you know, shaped our lives, that influenced us. And so this is our little tribute to those people. Over here, of course, every record store has to have a staff pick section. Some of our personal highlights that we like to point out. And then here we have our little, you know, knick-knack section, I guess you can call it. You know, stuff like puzzles, Funko Pops, books, just like fun little things. So all music related. And then, of course, we also have 45s. This is definitely a big nostalgia thing. And it is actually kind of fun. Most of these, they run from, you know, the 50s to the 80s. So it's really like a little, you know, time machine when you go through all these. some fun stuff. All right, and then over here, this is, I guess, the heart of the store, the bins in the end. That's what really matters. What records do we have here? You see here first that we, I guess, in proportion, have a pretty big metal section compared to a lot of other stores, and well, there's a few reasons for that. For one, of course, we like metal. We're in a pretty small market here, so we have to be pretty widespread, and we want to be. We listen to a lot of different music, so we want to have a nice selection of different genres. But I think every record store also shows a little bit of the personality of the owners, and metal is really dear to our heart, and we always felt like it was kind of underrepresented in a lot of stores. So we said, you know what? Let's go for it. We have, of course, some of the big names. You have your Metallica, your Iron Maiden, your Priest, and so on. But there's also a lot of stuff that, you know, it's a little more undergroundy. We love when people come here and discover stuff that they may have never heard of a band, and they fall in love with them, and you know, they support the scene as a whole. So that's a really cool thing for us. It's important to us. Over here we have our R&B and soul section, and then our and everything else section, as we called it. That's actually a lot of people really always like to dig through that stuff. It's basically records that you can't really categorize by music style. So it's like, I think we have here Richard Simmons, we have some aerobic records. Oh look, that didn't work out really well. Sorry, but hey, at least you got a record in a store now. That's pretty cool. You know, comedy stuff, like some Louisiana comedy, like, right, I'm not from here originally, you can probably tell, but I've been told Justin Wilson is very popular around here. Over here, country section, we're like I said initially, we're like right outside of New Orleans, so like on the other side we have a big ass lake, on the other side of that lake. So this is kind of like traditionally kind of a country region that has become more residential. So I guess we're somewhere in between city and country right now. But still a good bit of country fans out here, probably a little more than in the city. So here in our country section, we have some newer names here, stuff like Midland, Sturgill Simpson, but also there's a lot of really classic country in here, a lot of nice, all the time, even Canadians that make country. Crazy stuff. Charlie Pride, you get it. Then we have hip hop here, hip hop or rap. You know, the thing with hip hop is it's a different world. It's kind of a lot of stuff doesn't even come out on vinyl. It's sometimes really hard to, or it's really hard to get, or they do very limited releases that they just sell directly. But we really try our best. It's important to us. We have a lot of hip-hop fans here to have a nice selection, not just the big names, but kind of the stuff that's happening right now mixed in with some of the classics. Let's say Tyler, the Creator, might be one of our best sellers of all the artists combined. For instance, that's something that surprised us a little bit. I mean, of course, we knew that Tyler was a big name, but it's kind of interesting to see that he is really one of the best-selling artists for us here at our store. For a blues section here, of course, we're in New Orleans. Have got some blues here, so that of course is a lot of older stuff. This is, for instance, from a New Orleans label, so you might not see that everywhere. Guitar Slim Jr. as well. And then, of course, our punk section. Punk, kind of the same thing as metal for us. It's really dear to our heart, especially Stu loves his punk. So here, I guess it's kind of the same thing. We have some of the big names, of course. We have your Offspring, NoFX, Sex Pistols, but it's really also, we want to go a little deeper and have some stuff that you might not find everywhere. And if you're into punk, you might want to look. We even have this guy here. You ever heard of that? Yeah, as you see, it's all about the balance of, like, you know, bigger artists, more undergroundy stuff. That's what we're trying to achieve here. Over here we have a jazz and classical section. Of course, jazz kind of almost automatically a lot of older stuff here. But we try to put in some, contemporary stuff, like, I'm excited to hear something like this, Sons of Kemet, that, like, an actual new band, kind of finding new ways of using jazz as an art form. But of course, a lot of the classics here, Miles Davis, Coltrane, Billie Holiday, things like that. And then the rest here wrapping around is rock pop. That was a part of a discussion that we had initially. Down here we sell some turntables too. Especially really appreciate working with U-Turn. They're a great company putting out great turntables at an affordable price. I think the price versus quality ratio is really great, and they're really great to work with. We had a lot of customers that are really happy with those turntables. And yeah, so like I said, here the rock pop section, we didn't really know initially, should we do rock as its own section and pop as another section, but these days so much stuff is so close together and it's not always easy to categorize, and we're like, you know what, let's just put it together. And it's still a lot to go through. So obviously here, I guess you probably have the biggest variety of, individual styles and eras. Like this goes from, I would say, like the 50s to, last week. So this is all right here. Yes, and as you can see, our vision for the store is, I think Stu really put it well. When we first opened the store, he was saying that it really kind of stuck with me. It was like, we want to be the store that would be here at this time in the 2020s if that whole disruption had never happened. This is not just a nostalgia thing, like, hey, let's go back to the 80s. It's a now thing. But just like stores have always been, if you go in, you get that new release of that band that you've been waiting for, but while you're at it, hey, I don't have Led Zeppelin 4, getting that too. So that's kind of like the idea that we had when we opened the store. All right, Stu, you got anything to add?
Not really. Pretty much covered it.
All right.
In this section here, we've got some extra sleeves. It's kind of running kind of low right now. We need to stock up.
Just got an order in. Cleaning material, like, keep your records clean. That's one thing, man. We wish sometimes people would have taken better care of their old records. Sometimes we get collections in here because, of course, we have a lot of used stuff here too. That's always fun to go through people's collections. And it's always nice when it's somebody who actually appreciated their records and took care of them. But sometimes you get people in that have, they've been sitting in a garage, especially down here, it gets pretty hot. Been sitting in a garage for decades, and can't use those, unfortunately. That's really important to us, that we have high quality stuff. Here we have our little free table, stuff that we want to educate people. So we have stuff like Razor Cake and Paranoise. Like, this is like a real old school metal fanzine.
Hardcore and punk.
Yeah. Like, I guess all kinds of heavy stuff. Yeah. If you want to shop the store online, if you're not in the area, you can do that too. You can support us through that. That's really the best way to do it. 22soundrecords.com is our website, so you can get all this great stuff right there, shipped to your home. And if you're in the area, we would love to see you. Come by. All right. Thank you.